Hi everyone, it's meteorologist Brian Bennett, and over the next couple of minutes in this video, my objective is to give you the most detailed, the most accurate weather information that you can find on the web, but also try to be as concise as possible. So let's move forward. Right now, as of the making of this video, winds 85 miles per hour, and I don't want you to focus too much on the path of this storm, as the effects of this very large hurricane are stretching far from that eye, and a lot of that nasty weather is going to be in that front right quadrant. So Florida, the Florida Peninsula, is going to be feeling quite a few impacts from this storm, and we'll go over those in a second. But just know, just because you're out of that path doesn't mean you're not going to have some significant weather from this tropical system. Looking at the infrared satellite imagery, a few hours ago, the storm actually did drag in a little bit of dry air left over from a tropical system that was moving out of Mexico. But you can see it handled that dry air and it doesn't seem to be impacting it at all. So that shows you, one, the resiliency of this hurricane. It also shows you that we're dealing with some very deep, warm ocean water that is fueling this storm. The storm is moving just north of the Yucatan Channel. In fact, I think I have there we go. Here's the Cuban radar. This is from the west coast of Cuba, and you can see that we have, let's not call it an eye quite yet because it's not really visible in satellite imagery, but nonetheless, we do have a center of circulation with this hurricane, so it is getting better organized, and that is not surprising. This is ocean heat content. The hurricane is moving over very warm, very deep warm water, and that's going to allow the hurricane to rapidly intensify, which I expect to happen overnight tonight and into the first half of your day on Thursday. So those winds are going to go from 85 miles per hour. No doubt they're going to exceed 100 miles per hour by the time we move into your Thursday. All right, everybody agrees. Here's the spaghetti models. You can see all that spaghetti is heading north. It's moving into the Big Bend of Florida. This is not going to be one of those hurricanes that decides to go curving off towards Fort Myers and Cape Coral. It's just not going to do that. We have high pressure blocking the storm to the east, so that won't be happening. It is going to head for the general Big Bend vicinity. Let's zoom in and kind of show you where I think it's going to make landfall. I think the most likely chance for landfall is in Apalachee Bay in the Big Bend, and most likely part of that bay will probably be the eastern half towards Perry, Florida, which poor Perry, they've been pounded over the past couple of years in an area that normally doesn't see that many hurricanes, has been seeing pretty significant weather with Idalia that we had last year in this vicinity. Looking at the future radar, let me drag this down so you can see it a tad better. This is the RRFSA model, kind of a new model replacing one of the other high resolution models. And you can see overnight tonight, we'll have some pockets of rain moving through. Nothing to really keep you up tonight. It's just going to be some areas of rain moving through on and off. And then same thing Thursday morning. If you have to make some last minute preparations and you live in the Tampa Bay area, you'll be able to do that, just dodging a bit of rain Thursday morning. And then let's go ahead and fast forward a bit. You'll see the peak of the activity for Tampa Bay is happening right around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on your Thursday. And then the storm is going to rapidly zip off to the north and make landfall in Apalachee Bay area right around 10 or 11 p.m. on your Thursday. And that will be when the storm surge risk will be the greatest behind the storm after the winds have actually calmed down a little bit, but they turn more onshore. All right, let's take a look at those winds. Let me drag this over just a little bit so you can see more of the state. And you can see here we are. It starts off quiet this evening, pretty quiet overnight tonight. And let me pause it right here, even with the Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Sanibel latitude. And you can see that in that area of southwest Florida, The peak wind will be happening during your Thursday morning and early Thursday afternoon. And then for the Tampa Bay area, the winds will really start to pick up right around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Most likely looking at those peak winds happening around 6 or 7 p.m. And then the winds will gradually die down over your Thursday night. And what type of winds are we talking about? Here we are, Tampa Bay, and here's Pinellas County. The orange color here represents sustained winds right around 50 to 60 miles per hour. So I expect everybody in coastal Sarasota County, Manatee County, Pinellas County, Pasco County, Hernando County, up through Citrus County to have sustained winds at the beach right around 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then keep in mind, we do have wind gust as well. You can generally add about 20 miles per hour on top of the sustained speed and figure out the wind gust. That means we're going to have wind gust on the order of 75, 80 miles per hour possible at the immediate beach locations. Now, as you head inland a bit, you see we're looking at winds up through Orlando of right around 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained, which means a wind gust of, say, 40 to 50 miles per hour, not completely out of the question for our inland locations, especially in some of those stronger rain bands that may move through. And then the storm will move to the north, make landfall, and I think it could be either a strong Cat 3 or even a Cat 4 hurricane at landfall right around 10 or 11 p.m. on your Thursday, moving off to the north very quickly, which means lots of strong winds and lots of damage as the storm continues to move off to the north. All right, here's a setup real quick. This is one of the new cool models that I have access to. This is the European Artificial Intelligence model, the AI FIS model. And you can see what's going on here. Here's the tropical system. We have a high pressure to the east, which we're glad we do. That's blocking it from making that turn due east into the peninsula of Florida. But then we have this little low up to our north. That low and this high are acting as steering currents, so basically a highway. So the storm is going to want to go between the low, between the high, right up into the Appalachia Bay area and right up into Georgia. So that path is pretty definitive based on everything we're looking at with all the modeling. So I feel pretty confident that that will be the trajectory as it moves off to the north, and then even possibly giving Tennessee some problems with heavy rain and gusty winds. Speaking of those gusty winds, we are looking at the possibility for some trees down and power outages, most likely in the purple area. That does include Pinellas County up through coastal, again, mainly coastal parts of Tampa Bay. The winds will be less as you head inland, but then Tallahassee, areas west of Ocala, even up through Valdosta, Georgia, power outages are likely. Even up through Atlanta and Augusta, Georgia, and South Carolina, we're going to have trees down. We're going to have power lines down. We're going to have power outages. So that's going to present a problem for crews trying to get the power back on. Typically, crews come from other destinations. They all huddle in and try to fix whatever area was impacted the most. But crews in Georgia are going to be staying in Georgia because they're going to be fixing a lot of power outages. So crews in Florida are staying in Florida. Same thing in Carolinas. So we're going to have to fix the power ourselves once we lose the power because each state is going to have their own issues to deal with. And again, a lot of that is due to the fast motion of the hurricane. It is moving so fast and will not have an opportunity to diminish in intensity as it moves off to the north. So again, expect lots of damage right up I-75. If you're planning on evacuating, it's going to be potentially rough going up Interstate 75. If you can, you want to head maybe southeast from Tampa Bay or head far northwest. If you're trying to get out of the Big Bend area, head due west, just like everybody else is going to be doing, more towards the Mobile area. You don't want to head north into this red area as they'll be dealing with their own problems in that location. Here's the hurricane center track. Again, you can see the large area in blue representing a tropical storm warning. The red represents a hurricane warning, which you can see half the state of Georgia is covered in a hurricane warning due to the fast forward speed that we're going to see. All right, I want to make sure that I really hammer this home significantly. The storm surge. We're going to have pretty significant storm surge in Tampa Bay and up through the Big Bend of Florida. We're looking at 5 to 8 feet of storm surge possible in the Tampa Bay area, heading north closer to that center of circulation, and we're looking at 15 to 20 feet of storm surge possible in the Big Bend. Keep in mind, that's as tall as a two-story building, so lots of salt water will be coming ashore. In fact, even though Helene is still all the way down in the Yucatan, essentially, we're already picking up a storm surge. Look at this right here. The water should be 1.6 feet at this Clearwater Beach buoy, but the water's already almost double what it should be. We're looking at 3 feet of water. It should be 1.6 feet, so we're already looking at about a 1.5 foot storm surge, and that storm is still a long way off and is going to become much stronger. So this will give you an idea of the storm surge, when it will be the worst, and how bad it's going to be for areas that are potentially near where you live. This is Clearwater Beach. The blue line represents what the storm surge should be, just based on an average clear night. The red represents what we have observed. The green line represents what we think is going to happen. So for Clearwater Beach area, the peak storm surge is expected to happen right around 10, 11 o'clock Thursday evening. That'll be when those onshore winds combine with the low pressure from the storm and the astronomical tides to give us the highest water levels. Again, late Thursday evening, Clearwater Beach, significant storm surge. We should have about 2 feet of water. We're going to be looking at about 9.5 feet of water. So you do the math there, 10 minus 2, we're looking at about a 10-foot storm surge, which will be greater than what we saw with Idalia. So in Clearwater Beach, let me pull up my notes here. Clearwater Beach, we're looking at about 2 feet higher water than we saw with Idalia. And you know, with Idalia, that water was actually coming up to the roundabout in Clearwater Beach. So we're looking at 2 feet more water, higher water than we saw with Idalia. And this will be the highest water that this particular station has ever observed. Let's switch over to St. Petersburg. We know in St. Petersburg with Idalia that we had the water actually coming up onto some of the roadways there near the pier and even becoming scarily close to the Museum of Fine Arts. And just a little bit more water in some of those spots would have been actually going underwater, becoming inundated. So for St. Pete Beach, we're expecting the peak water to be right around midnight Thursday night. So Thursday night going into Friday morning, right around midnight, the water will be the highest. You combine those astronomical tides with the onshore winds, and that'll be when the water will be rising the highest. So it should be around 2 feet. We'll have about 7.5 feet. So we're looking at water levels that are about a foot to foot and a half higher than they were with Idalia, and this will be the highest this station has ever read. The measurements at the St. Petersburg buoy actually go back to 1946, and this will be the highest water we've seen at this buoy over the past 80 years or so. So almost 100 years, this will be the highest water that we've seen. So significant storm surge is possible. A lot of this is because the storm is so massively huge. Let's see if I can actually go back here again. And one of the reasons it's so big, or will be so big, is we have this upper level low here, and this low is going to help assist with some divergence and basically pulling away of air, which is going to allow this low pressure to deepen and it become more expansive. So we're going to be looking at a very robust, very large storm. Larger storms lead to larger storm surges, and that's why we're looking at record storm surge possibly for the Tampa Bay area. If I end up being wrong, fantastic. I don't think I'm going to be, but if I am and the storm fizzles in the ocean, love it. I would rather be wrong than to have to deal with the damage from the storm, but I don't unfortunately think that will be the case. Here's what we're looking at for Tampa. This is the old port in Tampa, and you can see that we're looking at the highest water occurring right around midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning, Thursday night, heading into very, very early Friday morning. That'll be the highest water. And we should have 2 feet of water. Instead, we're going to have 8 feet of water. So 6 feet of storm surge, which is pretty massive. It's not a direct hit from a hurricane, but it's a pretty large increase in water, and which means lots of homes and businesses are unfortunately going to flood. Here's kind of a useful product. This is on hurricane.gov that you can look this up if you'd like. It's an interactive product and it shows you what's called inundation. Inundation shows you where the water is going to come on land in an area that is normally dry. So looking here in the Tampa Bay area, this model is indicating the possibility that much or parts of Anna Maria have the potential of actually going underwater. Same thing here in Fort DeSoto. Yellow colors representing about 1 foot of water, and you head into the orange color representing about 3 feet of water in an area that is normally dry. Here we are at Paso Grove Beach, and you can see that we're looking at the possibility for most of Paso Grove Beach going underwater. Significant flooding from the intercoastal, maybe even from the Gulf for parts of Reddington Beach, Madeira Beach, heading up the Reddington Shores, Indian Rocks Beach. Significant flooding all the way up through Clearwater. The Courtney Campbell Bridge, parts of it will likely go underwater. Parts of the Howard Franklin, parts of it will go underwater. Parts of the Gandy will go underwater. The Skyway Bridge will be closed down. Once those winds exceed 40 miles per hour, the Skyway will be closed. So the only way to get out of Pinellas County will be to go north and out and around, as all the exits of the bridges will not be an option in the middle of this storm. So just kind of keep that in mind. Here's another kind of interesting product. I doubt you've ever seen this before. An acquaintance of mine actually assisted in putting this together. It's an interactive product made by the USGS. And what you can do here, you can actually zoom in to your point of interest. Let's say Clearwater Beach, or not Clearwater Beach, clicking in on the, let's say the Paso Grill area. And we clicked on Paso Grill. Now we can go over here. And this shows you the the water, the Gulf of Mexico, and it shows you the dunes that are keeping that water contained and away from the homes and the businesses. If you scan in the future, you can see there is a chance that those dunes on the Gulf side could be overcome by water, which would bring water not only from the intercoastal, but also from the Gulf side as well, which is a possibility in the Paso Grill area. So if you have been given the suggestion of evacuating, please do heed those evacuation orders. Keep in mind that roughly 49% of the casualties that happen with storm surge, or excuse me, with hurricanes, happen from storm surge. So tornadoes, wind, and rain, you combine all those together, and they don't even reach the number of casualties that happen in storm surge. We typically say run from the water, hide from the wind. So with the water, get out of town, get out of Dodge, do what you can do with your home, and then leave it to the storm and come back and live to see it another day. With the wind, try to get away from the coast if you can. If you're up in the Big Bend area, evacuate that area. We will have very strong winds. Thursday night, consider sleeping in a place of your home that's not near maybe a large tree that you could be concerned that could topple down. Thursday morning, you'll still have some time to make some preparations so you can go get bags of ice in case the power goes out. You can put some ice in a container and keep some of your food cold. Have non-perishable food. Assume that help will not be able to arrive for up to 3 days up in the Big Bend area. So you need to be able to survive on your own for 3 days. As if you call 911, they're not going to come out and help you. They're not coming out in the middle of that storm. So keep that in mind. Now, this picture here of O'Malley's is from Idalia from last year, and I noticed how many places came very close to flooding with Idalia last year, and just a few more inches, and it would have flooded many places. And you can kind of see that with O'Malley's here. And unfortunately, I think that the additional water that we're going to see with this storm with Helene Thursday evening could be enough to overcome and flood a lots of homes and businesses that haven't had to experience that with recent storms. Again, I'll give you another update tomorrow morning, but right now, that all looks to be the case. Hopefully, I've answered all your questions. Please be safe out there. Again, I'll have another update on your tomorrow morning, and stay safe, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you.